Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's video in which we're going to do a little bit of a control tutorial. We're going to go through my setup for AirRB and how I like to set things up. Now, this might not be ideal for you. This is very much reliant on your hands. And my hands are slightly below average for males, I think I would wager. I don't have big hands, I have small hands. They might be average, they might be slightly below average. I'm not exactly sure. I don't measure these things, never investigated it, but I have small hands. And thus, I have always in my gaming liked to have a mouse with a lot of mouse buttons. I'm using a Razer mouse since my MMO days with a 12 button side structure, which gives me a total of 15 usable buttons on my mouse, which gives me a lot of control on the mouse, which enables me to control things simultaneously, which is the main thing. What you want to do in War Thunder in this game to control aircraft and fly with the keyboard is that you want to have the option to use all your control surfaces at the same time with your hands. So this might be different for some people. I cannot use elevator, ailerons and rudder with one hand. It's just not working. So I've got one of those setups on my mouse. And we'll go through them. Some things are still on default, some things are not bound. I'm not going to go through everything, otherwise it's going to be a major video with all my explanations to why I don't use certain stuff, and I don't want to do that. I just want this to be a basic setup for you so you can see how I set my stuff up. And if you have additions to that, or if you want to have a little bit of a discussion about why I didn't set certain things up, we can have that discussion in the comments. So do leave me those comments. Do click that like button though, smash that like button if you enjoy the video at any point during this video. And of course, if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe, because I'm going to get a lot of content out this year. Going to do a lot of tutorials and a lot of rank reviews, which might be very handy for you guys. So you don't miss a video, subscribe. Okay, here we go guys. Control mode, this is all just standard. I've got this, I didn't change anything to this. This is just the way it is on default. So, didn't do anything here. Moving on to movement. I've got nothing on the mouse wheel, left this standard. Throttle axis, I've got it on control and shift. Just with my left pinky, easily reachable for me. And I've got web on hold throttle down for it. So if I keep the left shift pressed down, the web will be functional for me. Works well for me, so I've got that on yes. The roll axis is the ailerons. I've got that on A and D. That is also default. And pitch, the elevator control, got that on W and S. And this works very well for me. ADWS, also something you use a lot in MMOs if you ever play them. If you didn't play them, never mind, but those are the main keys you use, and those two are the things that I find most important. Of course, the rudder is also important. I've got that on the mouse, but what you want to do with these three things is for your hands, for your setup, you got to be able to use all these three at the same time, without, for example, taking your fingers off your aileron controls to activate your rudder keys. You don't want to have that. You want to be able to use all of these three. These are the main things for controlling your aircraft with the keyboard, and a little bit of help from the mouse in my case. But with this setup and flying the plane with the keyboard, you can actually look around with the mouse, which is something that is very important to defensive flying, and to be able to do what you see me doing in my videos, is looking at the enemy plane that you're dogfighting while you are flying the plane and controlling it. Because as long as the game recognizes that you are controlling the control surfaces with the keyboard, you are going to be able to look around with the mouse. So yeah, there is that. So don't look around with the mouse, don't fly the plane with the mouse. Sorry, you do look around with the mouse. Don't fly the plane with your mouse. This is not what you want to do. You want to fly the plane with the keyboard. And yeah, this setup here for these three things is most important. And if you have big hands, maybe this works for you, but it doesn't work for me. So this is all basic. I don't use this a lot, so this is all default. We're going on to mechanization. Ignite boosters. You have a few planes with boosters on, like the Kai 200 or the ME262, Swalbus. Well, you have a few planes that have boosters. I got that on a mouse button. Works very well. Wing sweep, I don't use that a lot. I did have these things. God damn it, they have to call me right at this moment. That is fantastic. Anyway, we're moving on. Wing sweep controls. I haven't used the plane a lot with this mode yet, so haven't got this figured out. Got the flaps on F. Got the air brake on space, which works very well on my thumb. Easily, I think bomb throwing is on space originally, so I definitely changed that. And ignite boosters is on something else as well, I'm pretty sure. So you gotta find a button that works for you. But for me, for the air brake, space works well there. Got thrust reversal on H, gear on G, drag chute. Don't use that a lot, but it often automates itself, you know, when you're on the runway with a plane that has a drag chute. But I've got that on default. It's all G. Now weaponry, firing. A lot of people have different philosophies on that. A lot of people, I actually don't know a lot of people, but my philosophy is to put as much lead in the air as possible when you shoot at an enemy, and thus I basically almost always fire both guns at the same time. It just finishes off people a lot sooner and gives you a wider spread, so you have more chances to hit the target. I do have my small caliber guns also locked on a mouse button, my first mouse button on the side, and that allows me to shoot with my machine guns when I am not close to an enemy yet and don't use my cannon rounds, for example. This is that's what I like to do. That's the only exception I make to not shooting everything at once. It's just the way how I always play it and what works for me. It doesn't have to be what works for you. Of course, you can lock them on different keys, but I just have everything locked on the left mouse button. I shoot everything at once, except when I want to do range shots with my small caliber guns. Then I've got that locked to 1. So there is that. Now I open my bomb bay door. I've got that locked on B, and I've got to drop bombs on my mouse button 5. I don't do these series and rocket salvos. I just got bombs on 5 and rockets on 6. Works for me well enough. Air-to-air missiles are my number 9 mouse buttons. I don't really use air-to-ground missiles, so haven't got that locked either. Drop guided bombs, that's default I think, but I don't use guided bombs, so haven't got that locked. This is my weapon locks. I got it at 8, and air-to-ground. This is default. I don't use that, so there we go. Fire countermeasures, I got that on 7, mouse button number 7. You see, I've got a lot of stuff on my mouse, and that is automated on my thumb, which is quite flexible. So it really works well for me, this Naga Razer mouse. This is also why my control setup might be very situational, because I don't think a lot of people use a Naga Razer mouse, or Razer Naga. Anyway. This is for the aimed weapons. I don't use this, so I've got this all on default. Got the radar activation on 0, switching between radar and IRST on the next mouse button. And I've got the locking radar on my last number 12 mouse button. The rest I don't have that locked. I just got these basics locked. This might be changing in the future as I fly the radar planes at the top tiers more. That might be necessary for what I've played so far, and I've tinkered a little bit with the radar, not too much. This is my setup. Reloading guns, well, I've got that on R. That's only in arcade, so well, never really use that much in AirRB. Gunners, don't do anything with that. That's all default. Camera controls. Viva View, this is all basically default. What you do want to do is you want to take this one away. This one is on the right mouse button, and I've got zoom on my right mouse button. And when I moved to this new computer, I kind of forgot to take this away. It's really annoying. It kept dragging me to the plane that I got selected, that I got locked. Yeah, not really handy. So you gotta remove this control there, and the rest here is all standard and default for the keys. Miscellaneous. Also, I mean open cockpit, cockpit lightning. It's just all. I mean, I don't use that. For the instructor, I've got everything on no except auto control of engine. I don't use max, so I've got that on yes there. Aiming, nothing changed here, just all standard. I got used to this standard thing, never tinkered with this, just got used to what was there. This is also default, I believe. There is one more thing I've got to show you. That is here in view controls. I've got the zoom camera on right mouse button in some situations, and there's also advocates for or against this, but I like to zoom sometimes, because sometimes with the background and stuff like that, it's not clear to me what the enemy is doing exactly, so I then zoom in to finish him off, and I use right mouse button for that. And you got to remove the following target for that. That is also on right mouse button. That's why I mentioned that just now. But yeah, that is the setup. That is what I do with my hands. Might not be useful for you, as you may not have the mouse with that many side buttons on your hands. But that is how I like to fly. That is what works for me. And there's the main thing what you got to think about in your setup is that this setup right here is really the most important, and that is that you can move all three control surfaces at the same time without stopping with one to activate another. You just don't want to do that. You want to have full control of them at all times. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.